what occurred here, and at this point it's just too early for us to release the name of the armed subject or the identities of those who are deceased. And we don't know his condition at this time. We know that he was transported to the hospital.
So right now the situation, are people being allowed to be back in their homes and leave their homes? Has that been lifted?
At this point, we don't have any information that there's any public safety threat. This appears to be a situation where it was isolated to this residence, but again, it's still early at this time, and at this point, it appears to be a very tragic situation.
Do you have the address of where it happened?
We're not giving the exact address, but it was in the 5900 block of Oak Hill Road.
Can you tell us if they were male or female or what ages they were?
No, we're not releasing any identification for the victims at this time.
And the person that went to the hospital first, that got out of the house, do you know the condition of that person?
So the person who reported the incident to the dispatch, we don't have any information that that person was injured. They just came upon the scene and called dispatch, and were fortunately able to get out of the home and get help.
The victim's relationship, is that being released at all at this time?
Not at this time. We are not releasing the name of the individual who was transported to the hospital or the victims who were inside the residence.
Can you tell us what kind of weapon he used?
We know that was a rifle. At this point, we don't know. We know he was armed with a rifle, but at this point, we're not releasing any additional information about the weapon.
When will residents be allowed to be back to their homes?
I believe that there is no, I have no information that there's an ongoing public safety threat. Obviously, this just occurred. This is a very fluid situation, and at this point, there's no information to indicate that anybody is at risk at this point.
Because I know that road was blocked
We
off,
can't.
for people being allowed. So there was a bunch of people that were not allowed to get in. I'm guessing that has been probably lifted.
Yes.
Okay. And then one of my other questions too is just what's next? What are the next steps for you guys as the investigation goes?
Well, it'll be definitely an all-night investigation for the detectives on scene, the forensics personnel who are responding, the coroner's office. Will be a difficult job ahead of trying to determine what occurred here, why this happened, who the individual is, who is responsible, the connection with the decedents, contacting their family, making a positive identification of those decedents, and also there was an officer-involved shooting. The fact that deputies had to take that level of force in order to subdue the subject, it turns into an officer-involved shooting investigation as well. So there's a lot of work to be done here.
Just the emotional part of this too. When you came here, you could tell on your face, speaking with anybody else, what kind of effect is this on those who are working this situation? And it being in Orcutt too, I mean, this in Santa Barbara County.
I mean, here we are a couple days after Christmas. It's normally a happy time of year. Obviously, it's an emotional time of year for a lot of people as well, with families and with different situations. And we don't know what occurred in this situation yet. It's too early to tell. But anytime you have victims that are inside a home that are deceased, it's just tragic, and it's definitely difficult for all personnel who responded to the scene, for the deputies who had to take excessive force in order to subdue the individual. Fortunately, no law enforcement was injured in this very, very dangerous situation.
So we just started rolling live. Can you just walk us again really quick through what happened when you guys first got the call and everything?
Sure. So just after 8 o'clock tonight, the Santa Barbara County Public Safety Dispatch Center received a report that there was an injured subject inside a residence in the bathroom area, that this person was in urgent need of medical care. The reporting party was able to make it out of the residence and get help. This occurred in the 5900 block of Oak Hill Road, which is located in Oak Hill Estates. At that point, deputies obviously rushed to the scene. When they got to the scene, they came into contact and decided and confirmed that there was an armed subject inside the residence, and that he was armed with a rifle. At that point, the deputies also received information that there were additional people inside the residence. Their condition was unknown, didn't know if they were injured. So at this point, it became a very urgent situation where deputies needed to go in and rescue these victims. At that point, when they made entry into the residence, they confronted the armed subject. In order to subdue him, they were put in a position that they had to shoot him. He was transported to the hospital, and when they searched the residence, they located 3 decedents inside.
And is there anything you can tell us about, do you know if that was his family, or do you know if he lives there? Or?
At this point, we're not releasing any information about the dynamics of the connections of who was involved. It's just so early. We need time to figure out what happened here, to make positive identification of those who are deceased, also figure out and confirm the identity of the individual who was transported to the hospital, who was armed and likely obviously responsible for this. So there's a lot of work to be done here. There was also an officer involved shooting, and the fact that that's what action had to be taken in order to subdue the subject. So a lot to be done here, and we're just not releasing at this point, early in the investigation, all of those details, but we will get them to you as soon as we are able to.
Was it the SWAT team or patrol deputies who entered?
The special enforcement team responded, and they are the ones who made entry into the residence.
Do you know, did they use less lethal, or was it an actual ammunition?
The actual details of how that all unfolded, we will be releasing, but at this point we want to take time to really put that together for you and explain how that happened. But the main point that you need to know at this time is that deputies were in a situation where they really were going in to rescue victims. They knew that there was several people inside that home. They knew one was in the bathroom and was in urgent need of medical care, and they were, the clock was ticking, and they were trying to get in there. And when they confronted this armed subject, they were in a position, how it played out, where they were and had no other choice but to shoot him.
Shelter in place is lifted, just confirming again.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you know how much longer so that street's not blocked off anymore? Do you know how much longer the people?
I can only imagine that obviously this is going to be an investigation that will last through the night. So as long as they need to keep that area closed, they will. They definitely need to have the space to do their work, and there's definitely a lot of work to be done here overnight.
And you mentioned because of it's an officer involved, it might make the investigation maybe more complicated, or
it adds another layer. It's just important that anytime deputies are in a position where they're using force at that level, that is documented, and that all areas of that are covered as well. And so it just definitely adds another layer, important layer to the investigation.
I think what you can answer.
Yeah. It's obviously, the main thing is just such a tragedy, that we have 3 people here who, are no longer, and it's just very, very heavy that this occurred here in Orcutt. And obviously, not even knowing all the details, you just know that in itself is just, terrible.
Do you have the timeline on how long it played out from the time the officers arrived until they were able to get paramedics into those patients at this point?
No, I don't have a timeline yet, but we will definitely get you one.